today we are working on Psalm 86. Now, Psalm 86 is traditionally used to overcome feelings of defeat. Today, we're going to use Psalm 86 to overcome feelings of defeat. And the way we work these psalm spells is quite simple and very powerful and effective. We take the psalm in question and we read it out loud all the way through once without stopping. And this is called an incantation. And then we take that same psalm and we go back through it and we take it verse by verse and we consider the hidden occult meanings within each of those verses. And we really work at it. We take some time and we work at it. We dig and we search and we find and we try to apply what we think we find there to the problem at hand. And it's through that work, it's through that toil, it's like plowing the fields of our deep mind. And as we plow the fields of our deep mind, we're actually planting those seeds that we've discovered deeply in the soil of our deep mind, where they, in a very real sense, take root and they grow and blossom forth and then bear fruit after their kind. And that's what we are going to do together, you and I, with Psalm 86. Bow down thine ear, O Lord, hear me, for I am poor and needy. Preserve my soul, for I am holy. Be thou my God, save thy servant that trusteth in thee. Be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily. Rejoice the soul of thy servant. For unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul, for thou, Lord, art good and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee. Give ear, O Lord, unto my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplications. In the day of my trouble I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me. Among the gods there is none like unto thee, O Lord, neither are there any works like unto thy works. All nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee, O Lord, and shall glorify thy name. For thou art great and doest wondrous things. Thou art God alone. Teach me thy way, O Lord, I will walk in thy truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name. I will praise thee, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and I will glorify thy name forevermore, for great is thy mercy toward me. And thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell. O God, the proud are risen against me, and the assemblies of violent men have sought after my soul, and have not set thee before them. But thou, O Lord, art a God full of compassion, and gracious, long-suffering, and plenteous in mercy and truth. O turn unto me, and have mercy upon me. Give thy strength unto thy servant, and save the son of thine handmaid. Show me a token for good, that they which hate me may see it and be ashamed, because thou, Lord, hast helped me and comforted me. All right, so here we go. We're going to work this magic. So it starts out by addressing the Lord, and it's always necessary that when we are working magic, psalm magic, that we see things magically and not religiously. So when we are talking about the Lord, we have to understand who it is that we're calling on. We are not calling on a deity. We are not calling on a father god or a mother goddess. We are calling on the one source. The one source of all the universe. There's one power and there's one force. There's one source. There's one substance in all the universe, and there's only oneness. And in this oneness, we are now finding that God is all power, all love, all mercy, all spirit. It cannot be destroyed. There is nothing to oppose it. There is nothing to thwart it. There is nothing to vitiate it. And therefore, one with God is a majority. And since God is with us, nothing can be against us. So there is nothing to feel defeated by, because there is no defeat in God. So it says, bow down thine ear, O Lord, hear me, for I am poor and needy. Now, this is such an important thing to understand. When we say I am poor and needy, it means that next to God, next to the all, we as separated selves, as feeling separate and alone, we are poor and needy. But God doesn't see us that way, because God doesn't see us as separate and alone. God sees us as having all power because that's how God created us. So we are recognizing that we, from our point of view, don't see things the way God sees things. So I am poor and needy. Preserve my soul, for I am holy. So we are recognizing that we are holy, and that we are recognizing that God alone can preserve our soul because God is the author of our soul. With God, there is nothing but perfection. O thou my God, save thy servant that trusteth in thee. So saving the servant of God. So when you trust in God, salvation is inherent in that trust. Now, so what is salvation? Salvation is that which is to save from something. What are we being saved from? We're being saved in this particular case from anything that we're bringing to the psalm. So we are, in this case, we said feelings of defeat. But what is defeating us? Why are we feeling defeated? That's what we are being saved from. So you can be very specific when you work these psalms. Save thy servant that trusteth in thee. Be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily. So to be merciful, it's not like stop hitting me. That's not what mercy is. Stop hurting me, God. That's not what we mean by mercy. We are calling on sphere number 4 in the Kabbalistic tree of life here, because sphere number 4 is mercy. And mercy is the sphere of Jupiter, which is also all prosperity, all good, and all that which is benefic unto us. So when we say, be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily, to cry unto God in this sense means to align ourselves every single day with that which is good, that sphere of mercy. So remember that with mercy comes prosperity, comes help in all forms, comes all good. So Jupiter is ever expanding good, is what we're calling on here. Rejoice the soul of thy servant, for unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. So it's a wonderful image to feel like we are lifting up our souls. So if you lift yourself up, do your very best to think your very highest thoughts, God can take care of the rest of it. You do your best, and God will meet you more than halfway. More than halfway. So if you're feeling defeated, you need to lift up your soul. That means that you need to increase your vibrations to the best of your ability, and then God will take over from there. But you got to make the first move. You always have to make the first move, and that's by lifting up your soul. For thou, Lord, art good and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee. Okay, so when we say that the Lord is all good and ready to forgive, God doesn't condemn. So technically, God doesn't need to forgive because God never condemned anybody. But God is all willing to show us how to forgive because we need to forgive. We need to forgive in order to be free, because it's our judgments that are the cause of all despair. So for thou, Lord, art good and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee. Remember that sphere number 4 is plenteous. It's all prosperity. It's all generosity. It never ceases. It never ends. It's like a fountain of all mercy. And that's what we're calling upon here. Give ear, O Lord, unto my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplications. Now, we don't have to tell God to listen to us. God knew what we wanted before we even knew what we wanted. God knew what we needed before we knew what we needed. But for us to say, give ear, O Lord, and listen to us, we are basically acknowledging that there is a line of communication that we have opened. We have opened. That on God's side of things, it's always open to us. In the day of my trouble, I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me. And that's so important to recognize that is how God is. That is the quality of God. The main quality of God is responsiveness. God responds to us. God answers us. God always answers us. So if we're in trouble, we don't try to figure things out on our own. We come straight to the source of infinite intelligence. Now, infinite intelligence knows how to create a universe, knows how to create a forest out of an acorn. So if the infinite intelligence that knows how to create a baby out of an embryo, that same intelligence knows how to handle any of your problems too. So if you come to God first, rather than trying to figure out everything for yourself, you will receive all instruction that you need in order to do whatever you need to do, so that you get your needs met in the highest way possible. Among the gods there is none like unto thee, O Lord, neither are there any works like unto thy works. And we're just acknowledging the fact that of all the gods, there's all oneness. There's all oneness. So even if you call upon God as a particular deity in your practice, maybe you're a priestess of Hecate or Diana or something like that, we recognize that that is just a symbol of the unity of all gods. There is only one. There is only one. There are not a multitude of gods, but there is a rainbow. There is a rainbow. There are different emanations. There are different experiences of that oneness. Neither are there any works like unto thy works. Well, there's only one, right? So there are no other works. There are no other works. So there really are no other gods but God, but we can have different experiences of God. We can have different experiences of God, and that's how we are able to have a positive experience when we work with deities, etc. All nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee, O Lord. All nations are referring to the different thought forms within our mind. The different thought forms within our mind. All nations, every thought form within our mind whom God has made shall come and worship before thee, O Lord. So what we're describing here is that when we are created, God created us already with thought forms. So if we just use the thought forms that God created us with, everything works automatically for us. Everything just automatically works well for us. And the way it says that is it says that all nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee. To come and worship before God, to worship means to work for. To work for. So all of these thought forms work for God. So they work for our good. The thought forms which don't work so well are the ones that we made up on our own, trying to hide our own thought forms from God. Things that we've made up all on our own without even consulting infinite intelligence. And that's a lot. That's where all of our problems are. And shall glorify thy name. For thou art great and doest wondrous things. Thou art God alone. So God already solved all your problems. God already solved every problem that you could ever come up with. There's only one problem and there's only one solution, basically is what this is saying. The problem that you have has to do with the fact that you are trying to think separately from God. You were trying to think with thought forms that you created, thinking that you're separate from God. The one solution is to allow God's thought forms to take over, to be that which you think with, rather than trying to think separately and alone. Teach me thy way, O Lord. I will walk in thy truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name. Now, when we say to fear the name of God, to fear means to respect in this particular case. And the name of God means the nature of God. So God has many different names, which is why a lot of people think that God is many different deities, right? But there's oneness. So if we take it out of the superstitious and we just look at it very practically and realistically, what are the names of God? The qualities of God. There's a lot of them. You can come up with them. Infinite intelligence, infinite life, infinite spirit, infinite truth, perfect love, divine law. There's so many different names of God. To fear thy name. So teach me thy way, O Lord. I will walk in thy truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name, to respect the qualities of God, to align ourselves with the qualities of God. So if we are thinking thoughts that are separate from God, then we're not thinking thoughts such as infinite intelligence, perfect love. We're not thinking along those lines. So in order to, quote, fear the name of God, we turn away from our own errant thought forms and turn toward those thoughts of God instead. Teach me thy way, O Lord, it said, right? I will walk in thy truth. So teach me. So we're asking to be taught. So if you're asking to be taught then that means that you need to show up to the classroom every day. So if you really are serious about overcoming these issues, then you show up for class every day. That means you sit and listen. You sit and listen to the voice of your inner teacher, your inner guide. And you know that you're listening to the voice of your inner guide because your inner guide always speaks through peace, relaxation, and always gives you really good news. I will praise thee, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and I will glorify thy name forevermore. So to praise something is to acknowledge that it's good with enthusiasm. So you are going to enthusiastically acknowledge that which is good about God. Well, what is God? God is all that's good. And so it's really, anytime you say praise God, you are just enthusiastically acknowledging that good is good. And that's really all that means. And that's all that there is. And the more that you can praise and you can see the manifestations of good in your life. So if you've got a problem in your life, then you need to enthusiastically acknowledge what's good in the midst of that problem. And then that way you're invoking God in the presence of that. And then that's going to be what you see instead of the problem, because the problem will disappear, just like darkness disappears when you turn on a light, because it wasn't really there to begin with. For great is thy mercy toward me, and thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell. So great is thy mercy toward me. So God's mercy is great, meaning that all good comes to us. Again, that mercy is all good, is all beneficence, it's all prosperity, all wealth, all wonder, everything that could possibly make us happy is what mercy is. And so great is thy mercy toward me, and thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell. If you're in the lowest hell, you know what that's like. You know what the lowest hell feels like. The utter despair, right? And you think you can find your way out of that, but you can't. You can't find your way out of that, but God knows that that's not really where you're dwelling anyway. God knows that you've fallen asleep to who you are. God sees that you're dreaming a horrible nightmare. And so when we're asking to be awakened from this nightmare, God will give us what we want, but God will never violate our free will. If we want to sit and dream thoughts of separation, if we want to sit and play around and dally in worlds of despair and in those lower hells, God will patiently wait for us until we decide otherwise. But as soon as we decide otherwise, God will deliver us, just like putting a stamp on a letter and delivering it. God will deliver us from any of those low states. O God, the proud are risen against me, and the assemblies of violent men have sought after my soul. Let's not think about things that appear to be outside of us when we're working the psalm. Let's take 100% responsibility for the thought forms, which are the cause of everything in our life. And so the proud to be risen up against us is directly speaking of our own ego mind, our own ego thought forms. That is arrogance. What is arrogant? Okay, so to be arrogant is to say that I am going to be better than God. How are you going to be better than perfect love? How are you going to be better than perfect good, unlimited good? The only way to do that is by finding ways that you're not good enough. That you're not good enough. That's the only way that you can possibly differentiate yourself from God and try to separate yourself. There's no other way. And that's what your ego's job is. And you, just so you know, you created the ego by contemplating thoughts of separation. You did that. So you can allow God to undo that by recognizing that none of that's true. That God created you perfect, and you can't. You don't have the power to uncreate what God created. You can't do it. You can try really, really hard to prove that you're not good enough. And you can create all kinds of experiences in this world to prove to yourself and the world, and even trying to prove to God that you're not good enough. But God will never see it that way, because God understands that those things aren't true. Therefore, the only way that you can experience them is within the realm of a hallucination or a very, very bad dream. And that's ultimately what this world is when we are peopling this world with with illusions that are trying to prove to us that we've somehow overcome God. The only way to overcome perfect good is to try to be bad. And there's no bad. God didn't create you bad. So no matter how much you try, even if you do everything in your power in this world to prove that you're not good enough, you can't uncreate what God created. Only within the realm of a hallucination can you do that. And that's what this world is. The proud are risen up against me. That's what that is. And the assemblies of violent men have sought after my soul. That is an act of violence to try to separate yourself from God. And have not seen thee before them. So those thought forms cannot see God. Those thought forms cannot see God because they are pure darkness. But pure darkness can't exist because there is only light. Darkness is simply the shadowing of light, right? So when we allow the light of God in there, then those things have to disappear. When they have seen God, once they have seen God, they disappear. But thou, O Lord, art a God full of compassion and gracious, long-suffering and plenteous in mercy and truth. Okay, so long-suffering means patient. Gracious means giving of grace. Compassion, plenteous in mercy and truth. So mercy is all good, and truth is also sphere number 4. So that's more Jupiter. And truth is God's truth, not your truth. You hear that a lot these days. Well, my truth is. Your truth is nothing compared to God's truth about you. Unless your truth says that I'm perfect just the way I am, that I'm fabulous, that God created me unique and wonderful, and God did not create any junk. Unless that's your truth, then your truth is not true. Because God's truth is true. God judges you, and God judges you rightly. And God's judgment is that you are absolutely fabulous. Just right now. Even if you don't want to believe it, even if you think you can see your life as other than absolutely fabulous, it's not true. And so as you start to get the compassion and graciousness, this long-suffering and plenteousness and mercy and truth, then you are going to see that absolute fabulousness of who you are, because that's really all that is, and that's going to shine. Give strength unto thy servant. So to give strength, think of that strength card in the tarot. What do you do with strength? What is that being doing? They're taming a lion usually, or some kind of wild beast. We do that by not running away from the darkness, by running away from what we're afraid of or what we think our problems are. We take God into the midst of them, turn and face them. Never running away from them, never sticking our head in the sand, always facing it and being completely honest about what we think we're experiencing here. But when we're armed with the truth of God, those illusions disappear before our very eyes. Give strength unto thy servant, and save the son of thine handmaid. Again, to save you. Now, the son of God's handmaid, that's a very poetic way of saying that you are the offspring of divinity. You're the offspring of divinity. You're not just some, you're not just some body that was created separate and distinct and off in this very scary world trying to make it on your own. God didn't do that. God, you are like a ray of light emanating from the sun. And that's who you are, and that's how you are, and you're eternal, and you can't change that. And the more you recognize who you are, the more these problems and these illusions start to fade away. Show me a token for good, just a token. Show me a token for good. Give me a sign. If you ask God for a sign, God will give you a sign. So give me a sign, God, and that's you always want to do that when you're working any kind of magic. Give me a sign. Show me. Give me a lead. Give me a definite lead. Show me what I'm supposed to do. Tell me where I'm supposed to go. Who am I supposed to talk to? What am I supposed to say to them? What do you want me to do, God? I'm here. I'm your servant. To be a servant of God isn't a lowly thing. It's a high-level thing. To be a servant of God simply means that you're a servant of truth. You're a servant of light. You're a servant of love and all the other qualities of God. And anything that you're going to serve something. You're going to be a servant somewhere. So if you're going to serve your own neurotic behaviors, if you're going to serve your own darkness, if you're going to serve your own fears, then have at it. But if instead you decide that you want to do what the psalm is showing you how to do, and that's serve all of the qualities of God, serve the names of God, infinite love. How do you serve infinite love? Not by going around being afraid of your darkness. You serve infinite love by calling on infinite love and asking for those signs. How does infinite love want you to handle this? How does infinite love want you to handle that? And then you follow through and you do what you're told to do, and that instruction will be very specific. Show me a token for good, that they which hate me may see it and be ashamed. So now, that's again not outside of you. The thought forms which hate you are the ego thought forms, because the ego does hate you. The ego is self-hatred. The ego is self-destruction. That's what it's there for. So when the ego sees the tokens that God has given you, it will be ashamed. And what that means in the Psalms, this being ashamed means that we remember those thought forms. Anytime they come up again and we're tempted by them, we remember. That's what them being ashamed means. We remember that those aren't real. We remember that there's that there's the real truth behind that. We remember to call on God instead of calling on our darkness. We remember to ask for help rather than trying to figure every little thing out by ourselves, which we can't do. Okay? Because thou, Lord, has helped me and comforted me. So to be comforted by God is everything. God will comfort you. How are you going to be comforted in the midst of darkness? By showing you that it's not real. By showing you that there's nothing to fear. That all your problems have already been solved. And that there's a place that you can go inside your mind right now that will shine away every dark thought and thus shine away every dark circumstance in your life. And so you just keep coming back to this psalm again and again until you start to feel peace about whatever it is that you brought to the psalm. And once you feel that peace, then you know your spell has taken and you can move off of that topic and start working on something else instead. I really, really appreciate you spending some time with me. I can't wait to work with you again. And until next time, blessed be.